support diver returned to the surface to wait. Underwater, Parker and Malone exchanged an OK signal and swam toward the crack. The familiar guideline led them back to the fissure. Staring into the endless darkness ahead, both men felt their excitement growing stronger. At the entrance, Malone secured a new guideline. Then the two divers, one behind the other, squeezed into the narrow crack. After struggling through the rocky passage for more than 10 meters, the space in front of them suddenly opened up. Their flashlight beams couldn't even reach the end of the chamber. Just as Parker had suspected, this was an unexplored underwater world that no one had ever seen before, and it was far larger than the main calyx chamber. Parker turned back toward Malone and saw the same shock in his eyes. Then Parker pointed downward, into the black abyss below. Malone immediately understood. The two continued descending along the cave wall, determined to see how deep the chamber really went. 30 meters, 60 meters, 80 meters. During the descent, they switched to trimix as planned. But even as the depth gauges kept climbing, the cavern still showed no bottom. The discovery left both men stunned. By then, their scheduled ascent time had arrived. Reason finally overcame curiosity, and Parker signaled to turn back. One behind the other, they began ascending, but during the ascent, everything suddenly went wrong. Malone's regulator abruptly emitted a strange sound. The resistance while breathing instantly increased, forcing him to switch to his standard air cylinder. The unexpected malfunction caused him to fall behind Parker. He kicked harder, trying to catch up, but when Malone reached a depth of 55 meters, he saw something horrifying. Parker was slowly sinking downward, in a bizarre posture, like an unconscious corpse, being dragged into the abyss by some invisible force. Malone didn't have time to think. Instinctively, he surged toward Parker. Just before Parker disappeared into the darkness, Malone grabbed him tightly, but the downward momentum pulled both men even deeper, until they finally slowed near 70 meters underwater. Malone desperately inflated his buoyancy vest, then dragged the unconscious Parker toward the guideline with all his strength. In the chaos, Malone accidentally lost both of his fins. Fortunately, Parker slowly began regaining consciousness. He instinctively started kicking his legs, helping Malone pull them forward. The two men struggled their way back to the entrance of the passage. But by then, the two emergencies had nearly emptied Malone's cylinders. After turning back and confirming Parker was following behind him, Malone made the decision to leave first and squeezed into the crack. Inside the narrow passage, he could faintly see Parker's dive light approaching behind him. But after Malone returned to the main chamber and switched to his high-oxygen decompression tank, Parker never appeared. At that point, Malone was breathing a high-oxygen mix. If he descended back into deep water, the risk of oxygen toxicity could easily kill him as well. As Malone waited in panic, the support diver, Tom, sensed something was wrong and descended into the main chamber to investigate. But after learning Parker still hadn't come out, Tom could do nothing.